I actually have to go through and do some research. I have to find out about these projects and make sure that they're, good investments because that was the first NFT that was just like, yeah, you fucked up. You should have done more research. So that was my introduction. Um, after that, I just downloaded Twitter and uh, kind of discovered Magic Eden. Um, and then that was kind of just like the way I started off, I guess, with this through some friends telling me like, hey, these fucking JPEGs are worth quarter of a million. That's insane. I have no idea like how ridiculous for people to pay, that much for an NFT. Um, and here I am, right? Like 2 years, almost 2 years later, I'm still, well, not almost 2 years, about a year and a month later. Um, I'm pretty much kind of still doing the same thing, except a little bit more reformed, a little bit more experienced. Um, and yeah, man, hopefully that helps you out a little bit to hear my origin story a little bit.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I think it's interesting, right? A lot of us come into this space for there's a lot of different reasons. Whether you're trading crypto itself, maybe you heard about Bitcoin and it going to 20K or 100K or whatever, um, or you heard, well, it never hit 100K. I apologize for saying that exactly, but or you hear about like Bored Ape, right? Justin Bieber bought a Bored Ape, Snoop Dogg bought a Bored Ape, Eminem has a Bored Ape, and then that stuff hits the news, and then that's really like, oh my god, this is happening. What are NFTs? What are these tokens, and what does that really mean? And it's interesting, right? It always kind of piques your interest. Maybe I should get into that. Maybe I can make that much money. And then before you know it, Web3 has you in its grasp and you're here forever, more or less. So, one thing you mentioned that I thought was interesting is you kind of discovered Twitter as you went along your kind of Web3 journey. So, I kind of had a very similar experience. I never used Twitter until I actually got into crypto. And whenever I kind of took this dive, it was very interesting to kind of learn what it means to be on Twitter, how the algorithm works, and what it means to be engaged. So I'm curious, what does your experience with social media look like?
So I mean, like, I guess as I was younger, right? Like 13, 14, 15, kind of going through high school. Like I almost had uh a moment of like, a viral sensation on Facebook. Um, like it was almost insane. I'd get like 400 likes. I had 5,000 friends, which is the most you could have. Um, and like I kind of let the younger, less experienced version of me get, ahead of myself. And, like I definitely got a little cocky and a little bit more, I guess pretentious, right? And so I noticed the engagement kind of went down. Um, and so I kind of learned from that lesson, pretty early on, like don't don't treat yourself for yeah, like don't treat yourself openly better than the next person. And by that I mean like don't just, like if you've got it good, don't rub it in everybody's faces that you got it good, so I learned that at a very young age. And now that I mean like Twitter, I mean whenever I started I had like maybe 10 followers. But I've had my account active forever. Um but yeah, Instagram, I mean, I wasn't really ever into Instagram too much. Because Facebook kind of ruined it for me. It made me realize, like that's just not really who I wanted to be, and it's just not what, anybody should have to deal with as far as what I was. I mean, I wasn't like rude or anything. It was just like, you start doing engagement or like pictures or like statuses just for likes, and there isn't really anything that I was finding total enjoyment out of, or I would be upset because I didn't get 300 or 400 likes on the picture or on the status. So that kind of like ruined Instagram for me. um but here we are, and now I'm a little bit more older. I'm 27 now, so um definitely have had a few years to kind of mature, to kind of think about how to be a better version of myself, as well as being able to coach or mentor and motivate others. That kind of look up to me. Um, that's just a practice I think that is kind of learned through trial and error. And I'm just thankful that you're giving me a platform here as well as Fredo and Words. Um, and then Father, the bank guy down there. These guys have all given me a platform to kind of go up and speak and share my insight and share just a little bit of my story, or just even adding to the conversation. Um, so past social media experience, I'd say probably just Facebook. Um, and now Twitter. Twitter's the fucking best. I love it.
Yeah, I've kind of fallen in love with Twitter, whether I enjoy it or not. I'm kind of here to stay. It's kind of my journey with crypto as well. But I think what's interesting about your take on social media and your journey through social media is, as you kind of mentioned, is kind of disassociating yourself, your value with the numbers, right, and becoming kind of true to who you are rather than what you think you should be or what you think you should be accomplishing or who you should measure up to. Because one of the biggest lessons in life that can kind of help move you forward and help you become a better person is to understand that comparing yourself to others will never get you anywhere. It's always about, can you compare yourself to who you were yesterday and can you grow from that? And one thing you mentioned that I thought was particularly interesting is, now as you're kind of adventuring through Web3 as intern, you're really trying to be a role model or an inspiration or a mentor to people as they make their journey, right? Their content creation or their own spaces, and so on and so forth. But as content creators and as people who are active in the community, sometimes we make our own posts and we feel very self conscious about stuff like that. So, a question I have for you is, when do you feel most self conscious as intern?
Um, when do I feel most self-conscious? Anytime I'm on a space, um, because like, I mean, we're gonna have an influence no matter how big or small our accounts are, you know. Like I mean, there have been days where I've heard, like kind of the same thing I said, the day before or even the hour before, kind of being repeated through somebody else's, mouth. Um, so the day I heard that, I was just like, okay, let me, be a little bit more of a lead kind of figure, and like I guess just try to, paint a better, um, I guess, image for people are developing them. Um, I mean, we have a couple of guys that we've been trying to help out. Me and Fredo. Um, I mean, I don't want to really name drop, but there's a couple of guys that we've actually like taken the time to, not only coach and educate, but to almost like re-engineer how they're presenting themselves. Um, I think that's just one part of like character development and kind of just being a leader uh, in general, is just showing your appreciation for somebody, but then taking it one step further and just saying, like, hey, so through my experience, I think you'd be able to really, excel if you were to do this, or just to tweak it that a little bit and make it a little bit more of a refined edge. Um, I mean, that's just one of those things that I think are almost looked after. Like a lot of people look in up to that, and a lot of people find enjoyment out of it. So if we're able to do that with like one guy or two guys in a space, odds are we're going to probably affect 5 to 10 guys that would be willing to do it. So it's just finding the stuff that people enjoy and people like actually, you know, um, low key want to say in the space, but they just might feel uncomfortable, or they might just, notice that no other hosts or no other people are saying that. So, they kind of feed into the narrative that's the most popular. Um, and that's just like I think a thing me and Fredo have been really good about. And words even too, words down there in the listeners with the Bad Cat. Um, He's definitely been, like a rising star. He's pretty busy guy. Definitely does a lot of stuff. But like he pretty much, was just kind of a part of the community. And then now he's a part of the community lead whenever he has time, aside from his family. Um, so I mean, all in all, it's just be presentable, I guess is the one word I would have to say. And just like realize that, the space has people that could possibly change your life, and if you want to possibly run into that guy, be the best version of yourself that you can. Um, like I do that for my spaces. I've told many people that come through there that we kind of had to coach or kind of had to train a little bit like, hey, this is my space. It's a little bit different than any other space. Um, but for your best interest, I want you to be the best version of yourself that you can be. So whenever you're up here and we're talking to, somebody like Aaron or somebody like Kevin or Smokey, or even somebody like you, they're able to, like leave a good impression that, would leave you with wanting more and you want to engage with them, even further. Um, so I mean, yeah, just coaching, it's just, I guess, like for me, um, you know, I just see things that I don't like and I don't, feed into the things I don't like. Um, but yeah, I know I kind of like monologue there for a minute, Sock, and I know the question was, like when am I like aware of the intern or like the self-conscious of the intern and what I'm saying. And dude, I mean it's every day, it's kind of like I'm putting, like my feelings aside, where like I might be down one day or whatever. Instead of just like tweeting out a few like F this or, like I'm done, which I've done, but now that I do have a following, I try to keep that separate. I try to keep my timeline and my Twitter feed and, the narrative that I'm painting pretty true to, myself and to the community that I've built with it. So, nobody really ever has a moment of like, man, what the hell is up with intern, you know? Um, but that's just why like I surround myself with people that I do know daily, like Fredo and Words are two of them. And Sock, you're a close third now. Um, but I surround myself with people like that so they can pick up on it and they can understand, like, okay, intern's having a bad day, but he can't show his community that he's having a bad day. So let me lean into and give him some support. And, like, let's get through the day. And hopefully tomorrow when he wakes up, he's, gravy and, the birds be chirping and it's a sunny day. So yeah, all in all, man, it's just finding your circle that can support you and lift you up on your off days just so you can keep your timeline kind of fresh and like if you got to take the back burner and just be silent, having those guys in your circle where they can kind of fill in that gap for you is definitely really cool. So yeah, huge shout out to Fredo, huge shout out to Words for basically being people that kind of let me lean into them on days that are kind of not so par. So yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And no need to apologize for monologuing. This is making time for the intern meta or intern himself. So say what you need to say, man. I mean, get it off your chest, talk about it. It's your show. So we're here to support you in any way we can. And it's interesting learning your story. And I think it's incredibly relatable because just as you say, some days it's important to have those people you can lean on, whenever you're not able to provide your 100%, or maybe you're not at full capacity. Having those people you can kind of depend on to pick up your slack or be able to kind of accommodate you for these situations is always really important. And having that support system and that friend group and just the people holding you up, right, is always awesome. And one thing I think is great about what you're mentioning is this is something not only you and I might go through, but a lot of people, who do have a platform, who have thousands of followers, who do host these Twitter shows. Some days they're not at 100%, and it's hard for them to kind of keep up the facade, you know, keep up the show, keep everyone happy, keep everyone proud of the person in mind. And it's just a struggle. You know, you got to find that balance. You got to find what's best for you, but what's also best for your audience, and build accordingly. So I relate to what you're saying, and I think it's awesome, and I'm glad you're mentioning that. One thing you mentioned that I think is very true to your character, and I kind of want to go back on is you're really all for this mentoring, right? And enabling people and helping them find what it means to be themselves and how they can contribute and give value to the ecosystem. So, a question I have for you is how does it feel when you help enable people?
It's the best feeling ever. Like that's kind of just one of those, like, um, what is the word? Assertion, I think. It's like just one of those moments where you're getting affirmation, for what you're putting in, and what the people are actually, reciprocating and feeling. I mean, it's no better. There's no better feeling than knowing that that 15 minutes or that 20 minutes or those different spaces throughout 3 different days paid off, where you finally got to see the new and improved version of that person that you just kind of helped elevate. I mean, there's literally no better feeling. Um, I don't think than that. Um, like there are days where I put in my on my timeline, I'm like, um, I'm following some of the best MFers, and I feel like the world's a safer place or a better place. Um, with the people that I'm following or that are following me. Um, and I mean that's just like I mean it's just an inspiring moment. Like that's one of those things that if um I could do that daily and have no other reward than just having that moment where I get to see that person kind of shine and bloom, or even blossom into a future founder, or a future lead. you know that just shows me that what I'm doing is worth it. It shows me that it's working, and it shows me that people are, listening. They look up to me. So it's just like a affirmation for the time, the effort that I'm putting in, as well as Fredo and words. Um, it's just one of those things that I think is probably better said. Like it'll probably leave you feeling goosebumps rather than like actually having a way to express the overall feeling. So I'll just say it just gives me goosebumps, and it's just part of the ride, man, and I love it. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, it's part of the ride, you know. As any kind of content creator or a space host or just any service oriented person, being able to help them achieve their goal or achieve their vision is a very fulfilling. It's a very fulfilling task. You know, it's something we look forward to and keeps us motivated because ultimately, when we see the people around us win, we win. You know, it's shared happiness, it's collective well being, and that's important to not just us as individuals, but to our community. You know, the more people who embrace this kind of mindset and approach improvement this way, the more we all win. The more we all can see our dreams realized, and the more kind of quality time and happiness we can enjoy together. So I love what you're doing for the community. I love the relentless support you give your followers and like your space host here, Frito and Words. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for showing up and supporting Intern. You know, it's because small actions like this in the space make all the difference. You know, knowing you have that support system, knowing that people will back you up is always something to enjoy and always to love and cherish, truly. So one thing I'm interested in learning about is, intern, I've been seeing you grind, man. I see you in all these spaces, you're giving your takes, I see you on the timeline. Where do you see yourself in the next 6 months? What goals do you have?
In the next 6 months, hopefully I'll have like, more of an understanding for people that are kind of curious on what, I'm planning on doing with the intern. Um, so I mean, like in 6 months from now, like I don't know exactly how I'm gonna get there. I do have a couple of tools or like I guess, like, exterior ideas to kind of incorporate with the interns. Um, I think one of them would be like a Twitter bot. But primarily, I'm going to use, the branding behind the interns to be a hunter or an alpha hunter, so that's similar to what Jarpix does, or, um, some of these other alphas that are basically just kind of designated or dedicated to their main project. I kind of want to do that for the Utes, but then I also want to be able to do that for, the homies that are kind of in my immediate circle. Um, so I really think, in 6 months, hopefully we'll have some really good projects lined up. And I mean, like I really do hope that I'll be honest, I plan on leveraging, the fact that I do have a Ute, the fact that I do have a club, um, and a community of just a bunch of, like straight shooters, or a bunch of just, really dedicated, motivated, and driven people. I want to be able to show that, to the other projects and say, hey, yeah, we're the interns. This is my community, and like I will go over there to your project. I'll help you out, whether that be just hosting spaces for you, or like getting your name out there. As long as you're able to give us whitelist, I'll go and work for you. So as far as, figuring out what kind of work I'd be willing to do, or what kind of work I'd be able to do for these projects, that's going to be kind of the trade. Um, but yeah, no, I definitely do think, the fact that I'm a part of, the Utes, which is a really big, project, but the fact that now we're going to be on Polygon, we're going to have connections to Ethereum. I come from Solana, so like the amount of collaborations that I could potentially garner, um, is like 100, and actually no, it's like what, 300% more, or 200% more than what I would have gotten if we were just on Solana. Um, so I mean, I really think the overall reach will be there. It's just finding the projects that are going to be, good investments that I feel. And the fact that I'm able to go through three different blockchains, will be really cool. And who knows, right? Like maybe I'll be able to onboard people from Polygon to Solana for X, Y, and Z project, and then vice versa, where, I might be able to onboard people from Solana to Polygon or Ethereum. I think within the next 6 months, um, we'll probably be seeing me in a lot more of a different kind of spaces. Um, but yeah, no, like 6 months from now, I plan to basically just have a little bit more of a structure for people to understand. I still have to get my Discord kind of, I guess, figured out. Um, and I was just speaking with SJ over there at Decode in my last space. Swung by there for a few minutes, and chatted up with Crypt and Chef, and then SJ and the Decode team, or Decode Club. Um, so I mean, they're pretty much, like doing the same thing for the community and for the holders, and that's what I'm trying to do, is bring a value to not only the holders, but the people that are on the outside looking in, that want to be like that 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 want to be able to say that they're a part of, the Utes. And if that's through the interns club, then so be it. Like I'm not, really going to tell somebody like, yeah, you've got to go buy this NFT that's 120 Solana, or like 3 grand. Because I mean, at the end of the day, that's just not feasible for everybody. Like a part of me that I've always like just said time and time again, um, or just constantly reiterate, is like we're still early. Like there's still going to be another project that's just as good as D Gods. There's still going to be another project that's just as good as Bored Apes. And letting people know that that's still like a thing is really important. So I kind of have to live by what I preach, and say like, yeah, there's still opportunities out there. You don't have to hold a U or a D God to get those opportunities. So that's another just part of the community building. I think that's probably gonna let us take it to the next level, whenever it actually does come down to the collaborations, because it's not like I'm going to their project and saying, "Hey, yeah, like retweet my pinned post because I need, you know, um, I need my project to like be able to get views and likes and followers." There's no ulterior motive. It's just like I'm a part of the community. These guys are part of my community, and like we'd like to share, our investments, I guess. Um, so I mean, all in all, like the way I've branded, the way I've set myself up around others, is just letting them know, like, yeah, we're not going to be minting anything. We're not going to be, like really token gating per se. Um, so yeah, that's where I mean, like, there might be a little bit of a token gate, but it's not anything you have to pay for. It's like, okay, yeah, you got the trait or the W visor. That's a free pass. And right now I'm working on ways to, bring in, like maybe a pass or whatever that I can just give out and just be like, hey, here's the pass. I like you. I feel like you'd be an important part of my, community. And here's a pass to, basically get the rewards or be able to enter in the rewards. Um, but yeah, no, I'm never gonna ask for anybody for money because at the end of the day, I'm trying to network and trying to get some solidified connections. So whenever there's a time and somebody or a project founder or one of my friends need, like a specific, kind of specialist for whichever area, I want to be able to plug that person in. So all in all, it's just kind of like a network, and that's my trade. It's like I get to look like a cool guy that's, able to network on a different level. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's just one of those, I think, for the community, more importantly. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that you're going about this in a way that kind of ties into our conversation earlier, which is about enabling people, and finding a different way to do that that doesn't require 120 soul or whatever a ute currently costs, right? Going about doing it in a way that's true to accessibility, having passes that you give to people that you think are fit, or having a cheap entry or things along that line. And stuff like that is very important when it comes to creating and cultivating a community that will remain strong and bring each other upward and give each other opportunity, for sure. Because one thing about Web3 is maybe we missed the boat to get generational wealth, but the social networks we can get and the networking we have available to us, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. These kind of people that we're meeting at this point of Web3 is might not ever happen again for all we know. So this is definitely the time to leverage your network. Meet new people, jump on Twitter Spaces, jump into Discord communities, and chat it up. And you never know what doors might open for you after you do that. So I love what you're saying. So we are coming pretty close to time. I want to respect your time, so I'll only ask you one more question. Um, but once again, thank you guys for being here, and in turn, thank you for talking to us and letting us know a little bit more about your story and what you have going on. So my last question for you is, if you had to start over in Web3, would you do anything differently?
I would have started sooner. Um, like I've heard about crypto since like 2016 or 2017, right? Like with Bitcoin. Um, and I didn't join. I was just like, what the hell, and then just kind of ignored it. Uh, and just like was like, well, it's a scam, it's this, that, or the other. I never actually went through and, played the game as, I've been saying recently. So yeah, I would have joined sooner. I would have been earlier. Um, and then I just want to touch into one thing that you said, right? And then, like, yeah, we might have missed out on generational wealth. What if I told you, like, what if there was another day for that? Like, what if there's still opportunity for generational wealth? You know, and I truly believe. that opportunity is still out there. Um, the real question is, how do we find it, or how do we, kind of get the free pass on the generational wealth? You know, that's the question that I've always, like, I guess, kept in the back of my mind, and like, branded myself around, was, like, how would I possibly get in on the next big thing without having to grind for a whitelist, or have to pay for, like, a whitelist. Um, and I mean, like, dude, that's gonna come from the network. Like, imagine you're talking to Soulport Tom, or you're talking to, Luca Metz, or one of these guys, and they're like, hey, yeah, my best friend, or hey, I'm thinking about doing this project as well. Like, you're the intern, and I know you've got a lot of guys that are all about community. Um, like, do you guys want to come in and support us? I think that's where I'm trying to situate myself, is finding the next big thing, and being able to kind of leave an impression on them, to where they want to do it. It's not like a favor for a favor. It's kind of like, hey, yeah, I want you guys to be a part of this, so come over here and help us out, and we'll give you the green light on the whitelist. So I mean, that's definitely, one thing that I do think is still present. I still think there's opportunity for generational wealth. It's just finding them, man. uh and hopefully I'm able to find that and share it. So ideally, in 6 months, who knows, maybe we'll all find the generational wealth we're kind of looking for. um I'm kind of like really strict on, like, accepting money or taking payments. Like I have pretty much a rule that's, like, the second you offer me any money, or you're like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna pay you this or that, I'll just stop. I lose motivation, I lose my drive, because that's gonna be just one of those things I think in the future could be a problem if I started accepting money now. What happens in a year from now? Am I going to be the kind of guy that's just like, if you can't pay me, I'm not going to do it. So I just don't want to keep or even entertain that possibility. I mean, I'm kind of strict on that, um, and that's just through, like I told you, like, learning, kind of how to carry myself and keep myself from being, overly confident, you know. So yeah, uh, yeah. Thank you for the question, and yeah, if I had to restart, would I? No, but would I be early? Fuck yeah, I would. And that's where I'm heading. I'm trying to be early to everything, hopefully. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure, brother. There might always be an opportunity on the horizon. You know, maybe there is a generational wealth opportunity, and I'm just fading. Who know, who knows? It could always be there. And I do appreciate everything you're mentioning, right? Like, I think what's very apparent about you and what you have going on in the space and what you're building is you're very community centric. You're a very people person, when it comes to helping people. And as I mentioned earlier, kind of enabling them and giving them the opportunity to improve, whether that be financially or through knowledge or through their network or anything along those lines. And I'm proud of you for doing stuff like that, because we need more people like that. We need more people who are uplifting, who are inspirational, and are willing to mentor others to improve and find their footing within Web3. So this has been a fantastic show, intern. Thank you for coming on Making Time. This is a daily show hosted by me, HV Socrates, on the Syndicate Network. We had a very fantastic conversation about what it means to mentor people and uplift them in Web3, and what it means to be a content creator and some of the struggles that go into that. So, intern, before I go ahead and rug this space, do you have any final thoughts before we close things?
Final thoughts, Sock. I mean, I've got so many questions for, you. I almost want to, reverse the script. But I know you probably are a pretty busy man. Um, And so that's just one of those things where, now I'm gonna follow you around into your spaces, um, and find that opportunity to get to understand, Socrates, which I'm loving you, man. The energy that you bring into every space, you know, the actual like ability to come into any space and just kind of change the mood, and make it all of a sudden just be like a straight green candle that just goes straight to the top, and kind of lifts up everybody's spirit. That's you, man. You are the green candle that never goes down. And whatever I can do to kind of keep you, as that green candle that never comes down, I want to be able to do that. So I want to be able to learn, more about Socrates. So if you are having that bad day, you don't really have to, show it. I can pick up on it, and we lead the narrative, kind of together on that purpose. So yeah, no, my I guess closing statement would be just, thank you for being an awesome host, for being a brilliant mind within the space, and just a motivational character that definitely does, bring out the better version of almost everybody, dude. Um, Definitely myself included. Um, and I love what you're doing. I think your ute is fucking sexy. The hoodie is fire. As well as the yellow glasses, man. It's a total combination. And I just want to give words, some applause or appraisal for coming by. I love words, and then Fredo, the diamond dog, he had the dip. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to just say thank you for this opportunity, and just giving me an opportunity or a platform to tell my story a little bit. Um, that's not an opportunity, that happens, every day. So the fact that you were able to do that was just amazing. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for being up here. And I appreciate the flowers for sure, man. It means a lot. I try to do the best I can in the space, whether that be asking good questions or finding ways to uplift them. One thing I found, and you also mentioned you'd love to ask me questions. I unfortunately don't have time today, but I think we can get something arranged. So no worries at all. I think we can figure something like that out. But one thing I wanted to mention is one thing I don't see enough in this space, and the big reason why I'm doing making time is I found that it's really difficult for people to express themselves in ways that are true to their story. And that's one thing I try to do with making time is ask questions that get the speaker to be a little bit more introspective, get them to be a little bit more vulnerable, and I think that's more true to the person. Because people come up on these stages and they tell the same story over and over and over again, and that story is just one way to look at it. It's one perspective, and I think intimate, kind of closer conversations like this are far more important to not only grow the ecosystem, but to grow within ourselves. Because there's always a lesson to learn from each other's stories. And I love that. I love learning about other people and finding good ways to help them grow and how we can work together. So it's been a fantastic show. I appreciate you coming out. We did come out about 45 minutes exactly. So it worked out pretty well in terms of timing. But thank you so much for coming on today's Making Time. It was a fantastic show. I enjoyed learning more about you, intern, and I look forward to having more spaces with you. But without further ado, I will be rugging this space. Thank you guys for showing up once again, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye bye.
Love you, man.
Much love, brother.